Passing live again to Facebook from Beer Cartel HQ in Sydney. Wherever you're tuning in, I hope you've been having a great week. And if you've been enjoying some beers, that you've been enjoying some good crafty ones at that. Like always, this is a Thursday post where I take you through some of the new beers that have arrived in store. And I'm also going to talk about a couple of things today. One being Belgian National Day, which is next Thursday, July 21. It's very close to my heart, having some Belgian heritage and lineage, so I'll talk about those in a little bit, or about that in a little bit. But first off, I thought I'd just quickly go through some of the beers that we have received in store and online. So there's a new one from Six Strings. That's a porter there. We've got some new De Molen beers. Sorry, it's not a porter, it's a stout, that one. Got a couple, obviously quite a lot from Belgium as we lead into Belgian National Day. Got a couple of small bottle formats from the guys at Epic and 8 Wide and Liberty in New Zealand. And obviously, the Belgian stuff, and I'll take you through some of the Four Pines stuff that we've gotten, and also one of the Belgian beers that I highly recommend you look at if you are looking to celebrate National Belgian Day. So, some of you may or may not know that my heritage is from Belgium. So my parents are both Belgian. Dad still lives in Brussels. All my cousins, all my aunties are all based in Belgium. We are the only Hewins family that are currently residing in Australia, and we came here in 1991. So for me, 21st of July is always a very important day because it is a day that I can, get back to my roots and celebrate my national day, or one of my national days, because the other one is Australia Day. And it also gives me a very good excuse to enjoy a couple of Belgian beers. Now, I always said that if I ever started a business, it was going to be in one or two things. One, it would be either in beer or it would be in chocolate. I left the chocolate to my wife and I've taken the beer. So needless to say, we've got quite a happy marriage. Beer and chocolate in our household goes quite well. So Belgian National Day, 21st of July. A bit about Belgium. So what are we known for? So beer and chocolate, as I've mentioned. We're also known for some fries, or frites, French fries. Brussels from mussels. Of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme. He comes just outside, I think he was born just to the west of Brussels. Waffles, gaufres, we're quite well known for that. Mussels, obviously. Mussels and wit beers obviously go quite well together, especially if you're on the North Sea in Belgium. That's always quite a good thing to have during summer there. Belgian Beer Festival, September. I've been a couple of times. I highly recommend it. Goes for about 3 or 4 days over the weekend, and you can taste some amazing Belgian beers. It's on the Grand Place, which is in the the Grand Plaza, which is in the centre of Brussels. You've got the Brewers Guild building on one side. You've got the old town hall and so forth on the other side, and so old cobble street stones. It's near the Delirium Cafe, if you have been there before. So look out for that if you are in Brussels in September. You also get to drink every single beer that you're having there in one of the very nice Belgian glasses that is designed for it. And the actual festival is kind of where I had my epiphany about craft beer, or beer in general, and knowing that there was a bit more to the world than Tooheys Extra Dry, VB and Carlton Draft at the time, which is what I was drinking. I'll put my hand up and say that's the beers that I was drinking. I wasn't always drinking craft beer, but my epiphany came in the mid-noughties when a cousin of mine, Martin, big shout out to him, he took me out for a day and he said, right, I won't go to work today, I'll take you out for a couple of beers. And needless to say, we enjoyed quite a few good Belgian beers. And he said, we'll start with the lower alcohol ones, work our way up, and then work our way back down. As you know, Belgian beers typically start around 5 to 6%, so we were quickly up into the 8, 9, 10% beers as we enjoyed some of those in the streets of Brussels. Belgium, I'll give you a little bit of insight into it. It's a very complex country. We will put up a post to a video that I think I always share with people, that I try and explain a bit about Belgium. It's a complex country in terms of history. It's also the centre of the EU, so it's got quite a lot going on it, but it also is complex in the sense that it's got one central government, and then on top of that, it's got 3 regional governments based on the regions. One is the Brussels region, the other one is the northern region which is Flanders, and the southern region, which is Wallon or Wallonia. And then to add to that complexity, those three regions have as much power as the central government. So a very complex country, but somehow they seem to make everything work. And the one thing that I do know that unites the whole country is the national soccer team, the Red Devils. And I'm going to just try and say that in the three national languages of Belgium, because it's the national languages are German, Dutch and French, depending on what part or community you are living in. The northern half above kind of Brussels is the Flemish region, so they speak Dutch or Flemish. The southern half is the French speaking, and then you've got pockets of German speaking communities as well. There's been a couple of referendums with Belgium to try and divide the country, with part of the country thought to maybe go back up to the Netherlands because they're Dutch speaking, and part of the country to go back with France and join the French. However, every referendum has kind of failed because the Belgians, we always think that it's okay. We've kind of plodded along as it is, so why make things different? So it just kind of works, and yeah, the country kind of runs. But so the Red Devils team, I thought I'd just try a bit of a lesson in pronunciation because I'm going to go through a couple of things here. We've got a couple of different nationalities that work at Beer Cartel. You've got myself with a Belgian nationality, or part Belgian nationality, Richard, who is from New Zealand, Jack, who is Australian but has lived in Papua New Guinea and Thailand, and he's also a Queenslander. We beat him last night, by the way. We beat his team. Good to see the New South Welshman win in the State of Origin. So, the Red Devils. So the easy one, I'll say it in French because that is one of my mother tongues, and Les Diables Rouges, that's how you'd say it. But if you wanted to say it in Dutch, you'd say Die Rode Duivels. And if you want to say it in German, and I'm sorry for any Dutch or German fans out there, Die Roten Teufel. So that's the three ways that you can say the Red Devils in French, Dutch and German. Yeah, that's the one thing that does unite our little country, or my little country, back at home. And I try and get back there as often as possible. I've actually got some beers that I'm cellaring at Dad's place there because he's got the perfect cellar. It sits at about 12 degrees all year round underneath his farmhouse that he's got just outside of Brussels. Yeah, often when I do go back, I sample a couple of beers, and when he comes over to visit me here in Australia, which he does once a year, I get him to mule me over some of the beers that I've left from my last visit to Belgium. So that's a little bit about Belgium. I guess now onto some of the beers in a bit more details. Obviously, I won't go through all of them. We've got about 20 odd new beers. Got a stack of new beers that will be coming in next week again, so keep an eye out for those. But I wanted to touch base on, let me just try and find it. Right, so on the lesson of pronunciation. So this is, this is from 8 Wired in New Zealand. It's a Grisette. So Grisette is actually a French term, or Grisette if you want to say it. You can say it that way as well. So this is, when this came in, and all my New Zealand mates, including Richard who works here, he had a good laugh at how I pronounce this because I said Whancarei. That's a good Aussie way of saying halfway to Whancarei. Now, he then, after his laughter, he sort of say, well, you don't say it that way because any sort of WH sound is actually a F sound, so an F sound. So that is Whancarei. So it's halfway to Whancarei, which is a town in the North Island from memory. And then he went on to tell me a few other townships or locations. So I wrote these down. Look, he could be stitching me up. I've got absolutely no idea. I didn't actually research it to make sure it was completely legit. So there's Whancarei, which is halfway to Whancarei, which is this table saison. So it's 5.5%. It's a little bit lower than some of the other saison, but the idea is that it is a table saison which you can enjoy with dinner, and it's a little bit less than a traditional saison. So these are the ones, the other townships that you are supposed to say in this way: Whakatane and Whakapapa. So hopefully they are actually legit townships, which I'm sure they are, and he hasn't stitched me up. But that is a bit of pronunciation. Saying WH from a township or anything in New Zealand is pronounced with an F. So that's that one there. We'll go through that in a second actually. That one there from Fantôme. From Australia, this is probably the one that we've been selling a stack of. If you are on our email list, and I highly recommend if you want to get the latest information and be the first in the know as to the latest beers that we have that arrive in-store and online, that you definitely sign up for our newsletter. At the moment, we've got a $650 voucher that you can access, which gives you discounts at over 40 different sort of craft beer venues around Australia. So if you sign up now, if you're an existing subscriber, you can also access those as well. We'll put a link in the comment box just below this video, and the idea is you'll be the first to know, and you'll also currently access $650 worth of craft beer vouchers for different breweries and craft beer venues. So this one here, this is the double Cascadian Dark Ale from Four Pines. So Four Pines, based on the Northern Beaches here in Sydney. These guys started out about the same time that we started Beer Cartel, in about 2009, 2010. They started just out with their little, restaurant bar that they had there just near the ferry terminal. And this is their Cellar Door release. So the Cellar Door releases, they release probably every couple of months. The Black Box was the last one that we had. We had 6 different beers in it. And this is, I guess, in keeping with the dark style, given that it is the middle of winter or getting to the middle of winter. Double Cascadian Dark Ale. So this is a double, which means it's higher alcohol. Cascadian Dark Ale is also known as a black IPA. So effectively it's the marriage of dark roasted malts and hop characters from an IPA. Well balanced. I haven't had it, but from what people have told me, it's well balanced, and that can be the trick. Sometimes these black IPAs can not be quite well balanced, and so the sort of roasted malts don't quite work very well with the IPA characteristics of the hops. So this one is 8.8% or 8%, 500ml bottle, $11.50 on the bottle. We've only got a little bit left, but we are trying to source some more. There's a limit of 4 bottles per person. And the reason we do that is so that we can share the beer love around. So they're available currently in-store and online with what we've got. We've only had it for a couple of days, and they have sold very, very quickly, even with the limit that we do have of 4 bottles. So as I mentioned, if you want to be the first to know, make sure that you sign up to our newsletter, or you can also check our website for the latest in-store and growlers page, which will have all the beers that we receive within about a day's worth of when they land into our warehouse, thereabouts. So that's a Cascadian Double Dark Ale. Actually, to talk a little bit about Cascadian Dark Ales, it's a style of beer. It's a hybrid beer. As I mentioned, it's kind of like a dark beer mixed in with an IPA, so being a black IPA. Originated in the Pacific Northwest of the US, so think Washington, Oregon, and parts of British Columbia. And it started about in the late 90s, early 2000s is kind of where it kind of came to fruition, and people started brewing more and more of this style. And the BJCP guys kind of ended up putting it in the style guide in the early 2000s, I think it was, because more and more people were brewing this style. So another couple of things with regards, I said it was going to be a pronunciation video, this one. So in that area of the Pacific Northwest, there's 2 very well-known hop growing regions. One is, I used to call it the Willamette region. I've since been told it's not Willamette, it's Willamette. If you want to say it properly, that's apparently how you say it. And I used to call it the Yakima Valley, but it's the Yakima Valley. So if you want to say it correctly, it's Yakima and Willamette, with the different types of pronunciations. That's what I've been told is the way to say it. So that's the Cascadian Double Dark Ale from the guys at Four Pines, their Cellar Door release, or their Cellar Door release. And then also, ironically, we got a Cascadian Dark Ale from the guys at Fantôme. So Fantôme, Belgian brewer. He currently actually tried to sell his brewery, but it was an international investor that was looking to buy it, and he decided that he wouldn't go for that because he wanted it to keep it quite local, and he was hoping that a local brewer or home brewer or something along those lines was willing to purchase it, because his sons didn't want to keep going with his tradition of brewing beer. So that's Danny from Fantôme, and that's his dark ale as well. So you could purchase this along with one of the Four Pines Double Cascadian Dark Ale, and you could do a side-by-side, see how it's different, see how the Aussies make it versus the Belgians. probably not a bad thing to do next Thursday on the 21st of July for Belgian National Day, do a bit of a comparison and see how it all goes. So that's a couple that I want to talk about there. The other one I want to talk about, and this is a Belgian one. Excuse me. So this is, we've had this in before, so it's not a new beer, but given that it's Belgian Day next week, I thought I wanted to talk about this. It's a region that I have visited. It's a region that part of my family comes from. It's where my grandfather's family, about 15 minutes down the road, that's where they originated from, probably a couple of generations ago. It is the Ypres, and this is from Struis. So Ypres, and it's their double barrel age Flanders Oud Bruin. So it's a Flemish Oud Bruin, Flemish red ale. It's double barrel aged, so it's been barrel aged in what is it again? It's wild turkey barrels and Bourgogne, the wine barrels, Burgundy barrels. So they've gotten 2 barrels, and then my understanding is they have aged those for 2 years, and they've then blended them and made this beer. This is 2009. So last time we had it, I think it was about 18 months ago. It's probably the last time we sold out of this stock. $28 on the bottle, so it has gone up a little bit from the importer that we sourced this from. Now, this got quite cool history, at least for me. I thought it was quite cool. So Ypres is based in the Flemish region, which you might recall at the start of the video. I said the Flemish region is the northern region. It's about 15 minutes from St. Sixtus Abbey, which is the famous abbey that makes West Vleteren. And it's 15 minutes away from Popperinge, which is the little township that my family, or my maternal family, comes from. And Ypres was very, very central to the First World War, and it is actually part of the invasion of the Germans into Belgium, which then brought in the Brits into the First World War, because it had been decided that Belgium would be quite neutral, and by the Germans coming in and invading Belgium, it basically brought in the British. So Ypres had quite a lot of fighting during the First World War. It has a central, what they call the cloth tower, I think it is, or the cloth building. It's medieval, 13th century from memory. And it was completely destroyed because of how much fighting that went on. And there was hundreds of thousands of men that lost their lives. And this is a bit of an ode to that. You know, you can see there on the bottle there, there's images of what the First World War would have been like. It's also got the cloth hall in the background there, which has since, after having been completely demolished, has since been rebuilt. And actually on the first floor, they have a First World War museum, or Flanders in the Field museum. And it is probably one of the best war museums I have ever visited. I'm not saying that I've been to hundreds and hundreds of them, but I do remember going there in 2013 because I went to Belgium for my honeymoon, of course, and visited a few breweries, and that is one of the things that we did. Dad took us to the Ypres Museum, and it's just amazing. You know, they've got artifacts that basically littered all the fields around Belgium, and so it's been completely rebuilt. I highly recommend, if you like to war museums and so forth, to definitely pay it a visit. $28 on the bottle, as I mentioned, 7%. So you can imagine you're going to get, last time I had this, and it'll be interesting to have it again, but you'll get the characteristics of the barrel aging, as well as some bit tartness given the style of the beer. It'll be like a reddish brown, probably quite a tan head from memory from the last time I had it, but one that I would definitely recommend. We haven't got heaps of it in stock. We may be getting some more, but it is one that I think impressed me last time, and I'm sure it will impress me again. Struis, he's a Belgian brewer. He's got a little, I wouldn't even call it a shop front, but he's got a tasting room in Bruges. So Bruges is towards the east and north of Belgium. And if you're ever there, just make sure you check the open hours, because I know that when we were there, it was quite sort of sporadic. And it wasn't kind of like the tasting rooms that we have experienced here in Australia, or even say in the US and in other parts of Belgium, or even the UK. So it's a 2009 double barrel age Flanders Oud Bruin, $28 a bottle, 500 mils, not heaps of it in stock, and it's one that I would definitely highly recommend. So that's the beers that I'm going to go through for this week. Next week I won't be doing a video on the Thursday. It's unlikely I'll be doing one, but I will be doing one on the Tuesday. So on Tuesday it is the launch of Sydney Craft Beer Week, or the program of Sydney Craft Beer Week. So I will be broadcasting live from the Union Hotel, where they're having a bit of a media junket with regards to revealing what the events are and the program for Sydney Craft Beer Week. So expect me to do a video then. I'll interview probably Joel, who is one of the directors of Sydney Craft Beer Week, to get a bit of an idea as to what's going on, what type of events are happening, and what's in store for Sydney Craft Beer Week. Sydney Craft Beer Week, if you're not aware of it, it is in October, towards the end of October. I can't quite recall the dates, but I will be doing a few more videos about it. We have an event. It's another free event. It's not quite the same event that we did last year, where we had a free craft beer tasting here at the warehouse and the store, but it will be a free event with all details to be revealed in the next week or so. So that's it. Next Thursday, Belgian's National Day, so make sure you stock up on some Belgian beers and enjoy them. We did send out an email, and we have had quite a lot of people purchasing some of the Belgian beers, planning for that day next Thursday. If you're in the area, make sure that to pop in and grab a few, or also the Cascadian Double Dark Ale from the guys at Four Pines, or any of the other new beers that we've got. As always, thanks very much for tuning in. If you like these videos, you can always subscribe so you get a notification as soon as I go live. And whatever it is that you're doing for the end of the week, I hope you're having a good time. And as always, happy drinking. Thanks, guys.